Welcome back to the channel, guys. And yes guys, this is the ultimate Lamborghini Miura, and it is the Miura SVJ, and yes guys, that existed all the way back in the 70s, and this is in fact the proper hardcore race car on the road, and this was basically based on the completely bonkers unhinged SVR Yota on its own, which is a complete one-off race car crafted for Lamborghini's test driver back then, who was Bob Wallace, and he completely tricked it out, completely removed all the excess stuff, complete because race car on its own, and had a complete stripped out interior, plexiglass windows, a completely powered up engine as well, rear wheel drive and everything, and well, sadly it was crashed. And upon some of the customers hearing that this was a reality, they asked for proper production spec Miuras to come with such options, and well, Lamborghini didn't hesitate, and well, they brought out the SVJ, of which only 5 were ever made, and later on a couple more. To be exact, 5 proper SVJs were built by the factory and sold between 1971 to 75, and later on 11 more pre-existing P400 SV Miuras were converted from SVs to SVJ specifications. So of course only 5 of these bad boys were built from 1971 to 75, and first off, the main thing that you all will spot is that the fact that it has fixed headlights. It no longer has the iconic flip up headlights with the eyelashes, and it's got some air apertures as well to of course cool the brakes, and it also jettisoned the basic slat grills, which are basically the door handles on the basic Miuras, and well, you've got a proper door handle, as I said, apertures right behind the front wheels to of course cool the brakes, riveted on their own as you guys can see, and a 1 of 5 beast on its own. And in terms of power, this thing was bumped up, and in terms of weight as well, Bob Wallace himself wanted to completely reduce weight and keep it very balanced, and boy did he make it happen. And well, in terms of the interior, you got a proper SV interior with the fact that this thing put out race car style power, and of course this thing was incredibly light. It literally shed off nearly half a ton from literally the basic SVs, and this thing weighed in at a curb weight of 800 kilograms all the way back in the 1970s. And this thing would have definitely gone racing, and it was definitely up to the standards of a proper FIA Yota category style race car. But sadly, due to Ferruccio Lamborghini's very strict no racing policy, the Miura SVJ turned out to be one of the biggest what ifs in the automotive racing history. But nevertheless, this thing is a complete unicorn. I mean, only 5 were ever made, and of course plexiglass windows, the plexiglass fixed headlights, a proper chin splitter as you can see to of course reduce airlift at the front, and this thing was properly tuned in terms of a track specification car, and this was brought onto the road. And well, in terms of looks, although it's not got big changes as you'd think from like a proper production car to a race car, it looked as beautiful as a proper Miura would, but it was upped in terms of looks, and it got a lot of refinements, and as well as the fact that you got the same P400 SV basic Miura interior with a race car specification car on its own. I mean, that is just completely bonkers. And of course guys, a proper weight balance was properly achieved given the fact that the fuel tanks were completely repositioned into the sills, and of course the spare tire was moved right behind the engine, and this along with the fact that this thing had a near perfect front and rear balance gave it the handling similar to exactly as what you would find in a race car of that generation, and well, that just makes it bonkers. And as I said, that just points out to the fact that this would have been a complete beast on the track, and of course this still remains to be one of the biggest what ifs in the entire automotive racing history. But nevertheless guys, a proper unicorn, plexiglass windows, fixed headlights on their own, that is a proper tell to the fact that this is an SVJ. That is literally all you need to see, and of course a proper chin spoiler on the front, a fiberglass body, and not to mention this thing literally shed off nearly half a ton from the basic Miura, and well, that just makes it even more bonkers. And the fact is, you got a race car spec engine, and in a car that you would expect to have a completely stripped out interior, everything light, right? You got the creature comforts and literally the exact same interior as you got in the SV, and that just makes it even more better. You want to take it on a casual drive around the Swiss Alps, you can do it. You want to track it, you can do that too, and that just makes it even more bonkers. And now coming to the engine, it got a completely unfiltered race car spec engine, of course 440 brake horsepower going right to the rear wheels from the 3.9 liter NAV12. It completely got unfiltered Weber carburetors, and with a carbureted engine, and the fact that this had a straight pipe megaphone exhaust system, this makes it one of the best sounding cars as well. And if you think that is completely bonkers, just wait, because this also got obviously the air apertures right behind the front wheels to of course cool the ducts, a completely carbureted engine, and well guys, I mean, what else could you ask for? A 0 to 60 time of 3.6 seconds. It's not at all bad for a time of 1971, and I mean, the fact is, this was a super veloce Yota, and it didn't start off with the Aventador, and the SVJ badge wasn't literally seen for literally over 4 decades right into the Aventador SVJ. It didn't carry on over to the Countach, not the Diablo, not the Murcielago, but the Aventador, and that on is a complete beast. And that just shows that the SVJ wasn't invented with the Aventador, but the iconic Miura that literally defined Lambo's future on its own. and it remains to be the iconic Lambo on the planet. It's not the Countach, it's not the Aventador, but the Miura, guys. I mean, that literally defined what Lamborghini could do. Of course, the 350 GT kicked them off, but the Miura is what kickstarted him on a whole nother level. And well, this thing is a complete reality, and given the fact that only 5 of these were made, and the price tag, you can only imagine that this thing will be extremely expensive, given the fact that 150 SVs were made, which literally feels very positively goddamn common on its own, given the fact that only 5 of these were made. Well, 16 5 proper factory built ones in 1971 to 75, and then 11 more pre-existing SVs were completely converted to SVJ specifications, but nevertheless a complete monster on its own. 440 horsepower, not to 63.6 seconds, rear-wheel drive, meaning you can throw this around the corners and have as much fun as you want. A carbureted engine, not fuel injection, and well, that just makes it even more better. But nevertheless, guys, what do you think? And of course, guys, the engine is mated to a 5-speed dogleg manual, which is literally the same transmission that's found in across all Miuras. But nevertheless, guys, a race car spec Miura with a basic interior as you'd get with all the creature comforts that you'd want in a Grand Tourer / a complete track car, of course, of that generation. 440 horsepower isn't a lot right now, but nevertheless, for the 70s and the fact that this thing weighed in at 800 kilograms as the curb weight, what else could you ask for? And of course, guys, a carbureted engine, I mean, that on its own makes it even more bonkers. It also got aggressive cams as well, and even the engine cooling system, and as well as the fact that it got the dry sump lubrication system, completely made it even more better. And of course, they were all separated, so hence to make sure that this thing was completely balanced in terms of weight. And well, that just makes it even more better. I mean, lightness, weight reduction, weight balance, everything played a key role in it, and it panned out to be one of the most legendary cars, and also turned out to be one of the biggest what ifs in automotive racing history. But nevertheless, you can forget all that, because it is still a proper unicorn based off of one of the most iconic supercars in the entire history of automobilia. And of course, the SVJ being born not in the 2010s, but all the way back in 1971, and that just makes it even more better. And the fact that the SVJ badge was literally unseen for nearly 5 decades, that just makes it even more rarer. And of course, only 5 made. Well, 16 5 proper factory upgraded ones, and then 10 or 11 more built completely done by Lambo or Bob Wallace himself. But nevertheless, the super veloce Toyota of the Miura, guys, I mean, that just makes it even more bonkers. The SVJ in the Miura, that is something that I never thought I would see, but nevertheless, things change and you develop a liking for something of this kind. And of course, guys, in terms of the rear end, this had the quad tips in the back, not the dual tips as you got in the basic Miura. It had a completely refined rear end as well. The quad tips look really menacing, and given the fact that it had that front chin splitter on its own, that just made it even more better looking. In the rear end, give it a complete menacing look as well. And I mean, guys, once again, the proper interior of a proper P400 SV, with the fact that you got a near 500 horsepower completely unfiltered race car engine with a straight pipe megaphone exhaust. What else could you ask for? And of course, take a listen to some of that music right here. And well, guys, I mean, what else could you ask for? A proper 70s race car by Lambo that sadly never went into racing, although it was designed to go in the Toyota category, but nevertheless a proper unicorn on its own. Rear-wheel drive, 401 Newton meters of torque going right to the rear wheels, 440 horsepower, a proper menace on its own. And of course, guys, most of the weight savings was thanks to the light gauge aluminum alloy called Avional, which was used on the front complete splitter, i.e. the complete body as well as the entire floor pan, making this a complete lightweight machine on its own. And given the fact that this thing only weighed in at a curb weight of 800 kilograms, a proper race car spec carbureted NA V12 rear wheel drive, and the fact that you got a race car spec engine with a proper basic Miura engine interior which gave you all the creature comforts that you'd want, making this a complete Jekyll and Hyde, meaning you could literally take it out on a complete basic slow as cruise through the Italian Alps. But if you want to completely track this beast and completely rev it up and listen to that carbureted V12 on a complete high note, well, you can do that too, and that just makes it a complete double green flag in my book. And of course, guys, the looks of a Miura are always mesmerizing, and given the fact that it had plexiglass windows, those fixed headlights as well, that obviously it sort of hurts because it no longer had the iconic flip-up headlights, but nonetheless, because race car literally got tagged onto the car. And well, guys, the Miura Super Veloce Toyota was born, and given the fact that it was done all the way back in 1971 by Lambo, of course, they didn't call it the SVJ. The name soon caught on. It was originally called the Toyota, but people started calling it the SVJ, i.e. the Super Veloce Toyota. And that, well, guys, is how the SVJ was born, the SVJ badge on its own. And well, from the fact that it came from the iconic car, i.e. the Miura, that just makes it even more better. I mean, guys, what else could you ask for? 440 horsepower, race car spec, carbureted in a V12, rear wheel drive, a complete Jekyll and Hyde, meaning you can literally track it or drive it casually whenever you want. A complete car that looks as beautiful and as sexy as this, being one of the most iconic supercars to ever be made. Well, what else do you need, guys? Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Remember to hit that sub button and click the bell to ensure you don't miss out on any future videos. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. See ya.